Welcome to NDMI.com. This is Jones Report is for the 2nd of April. Let's go with the daily first. What the heck? Big excitement. Everyone thought that peace was breaking out. It was a Neville Chamberlain moment without the actual Neville Chamberlain. And lo and behold, we had peace according to the market. Only problem was that I forgot to talk to Donald Trump about it because he came out and basically said, what are you talking about? Yes, we have peace because we've annihilated the enemy and continue to destroy them, and we really don't care about the Strait of Hormuz. That you know, you want the oil from there, get it. Otherwise, America has plenty. So that's on you. We're just making sure that they can't send ballistic missiles our way. And the interesting thing is, for all the people who want to discount it, they did end up using a ballistic missile to hit uh, try to attack Diego Garcia, several thousand miles away. So they were on track with building uh, intercontinental ballistic missiles, or at least ones that would have massive range. So that seems to be pretty obvious now. Whether how much they've been degraded and how much money they can make, and whether you start removing their electricity grid and or limit their oil capability, does that create a market shock? Well, yeah, I think it probably will, and we're already seeing the effects of it. But it's the inability for commerce to continue through the Strait of Hormuz that's really the difficulty for a lot of those Arab states. And he basically said they're either going to have to get together, the Europeans as well, and decide if they want to do something, because we're not, or at least the U.S. from that standpoint saying we're. Intraday, everyone thought it was super rosy in that, but not so much. There were plenty of significant retraces, which told me at that point we had plenty of selling going on within the rise. Every time we got towards the peak, we ended up with significant pullbacks of quite a significant amount of size, and then they were typically bought up. But as soon as the day ended, Mamma Mia, yeah, there it goes. I mean, that was just a pretty straightforward call when we look at it from the my adjusted paint bar configurations. You start to see it. We pulled back up to the 23% briefly here, but that's just about to end as soon as the orange right there moves above the green. That would be the logical end to that move, and that's something you can look for here on the daily. The bullish move was the orange dipping below both red and green in this particular case, but once it moves back up above with no steel reset, I mean, find your the plus 13 once it dips back down below, then you just get the same behavior. So, and a lot of people don't see that. They think that this was a good move, but that tells you everything right there. Looking at oil, ooh, 107. I mean, it was just 106 a moment ago, and before that, 105. So just before the time prepping my video, I was already seeing a couple of dollar increase per barrel for West Texas here. So that means Brent's going to be more. And yeah, we'll see how much this is going to cause a spike. The Iranians don't seem all that interested, but it also becomes a problem. It's like, because who are you really talking to that's controlling what? That seems to be the interesting one. It's like you can talk to this, that, and the other person, but are they really in control of anything? That still remains to be seen. They're still launching missiles, so they haven't been completely depleted from that standpoint. So very exciting for them. The euro, from its super bounce, thinking that peace had arrived and they were going to be set, modest decline really when you think about it, because from a European standpoint, they don't have access to the oil and stuff that the U.S. does from its own drilling. So, like he said, you're either going to have to buy from America or you're in a world of hurt. Um, no real reason for gold fading other than transfer needing more liquidity because of the dip. Because the reality is, inflation is going to go through the roof. You're looking at phase two, which is common from the first inflationary period. We had a stall. It could have maintained itself, but as I've been pointing out for quite some time now, there was never enough of a dip in oil prices to rein in the inflation curve. It stalled it because we kept things modest, but there was never that move like in Trump's first term where he drove oil to a negative level that really created a deflationary pressure. And because of that, this was sort of like a given. I mean, we kind of talked about it, where he was at the end of the line, where it's like, okay, you're not getting the dip that you need. Uh, and then certainly wasn't getting any of the support from Congress in that. And I would be surprised if he even agrees to the DHS funding because he wanted the SAVE Act for requiring voter ID and stuff. No real reason to accept the compromise that didn't include any of that. Um, you know, so that'll be another interesting on the domestic side of things. How much that continues. When we look at the Nasdaq here, it just popped up. We see the exact same readings. So this is identical to the S&P, relatively speaking, as well as even within the Morganacci line. So I mean, the markets are aligned within this. There's just universal agreement that. Uh, they don't have any uncertainty or control over what's taking place. And because of that lack of control and certainty, all bets are off. I mean, this could go 115, 120 and start climbing from there. And then it becomes really just a panic mode. The question really then is who has a supply and who's selling it? It's going to be uh, an interesting question as to who's really benefiting from that. Certainly, Russia's going to benefit. Obviously, Iran, if they're selling their oil directly to China and stuff like that without any sanction issues. So, yeah, no, a lot of dynamics with this. Going to be interesting. But we'll continue to watch, as the Artemis flies to the moon and makes its little loop. But at the end of the day, the market's going to be under pressure. There's no question about that, because you've got to come up with some justification as to why you don't think that a recession is built into this. And if that's the case, then what are you looking at from an earnings standpoint, and how much clawback will be necessary? Even Trump commented that he was surprised at the market holding up as well as it is. But again, there remains to be seen what the Fed is going to not do, because their inaction is probably going to be more telling than anything. And I fully expect that they won't act, and that will be the difficulty within it. So, eh, exciting times. Anyway, that's the long and short of it for now. As always, prepare to have a great Good Friday, and we'll start it again at the beginning of the week, so he's got a bunch of days to sort of figure things out, or really just go full tilt. Tread well.